Grüezi miteinander. For tonight's dinner, Schlarraffenland will take you on a rather different course than usual. Instead of savory, something sweet will be the star of our dinner tonight. We're making Apple Quiche, or in Swiss German, Öpfelwähe. We'll also make some fun and bacony snacks with the leftover dough in case you still want something savory for dinner. This is a very simple recipe for a lazy dinner, but is still incredibly tasty. Are you ready? Let's get cooking. We'll begin with our prima donna, the apple quiche. First, let's preheat the oven to 200 degrees Celsius. If you're using a convection oven, 180 degrees will do. While the oven does its oveny thing, we'll cut up 3 apples into big chunks like this. We're using Braeburn apples because it has the perfect balance between sweetness and tartness. But you always have the freedom to use any type of apple your palate prefers. Next, we'll make our custard. We'll mix together 200 milliliters of cooking cream, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, and 2 whole eggs. Whisk it well and then set aside. And we cannot forget our cinnamon sugar mix for the quiche surface. For that, we'll mix 2 tablespoons of brown sugar with 2 teaspoons of cinnamon powder. Now all the mixtures are prepared. Let's start assembling the quiche into our round baking pan. The bottom layer is, of course, the puff pastry. We're just using generic store-bought puff pastry that you can get in any supermarket. If you want to make the puff pastry yourself to dazzle your dinner date with your pastry skill, then that's very impressive of you, and your dinner date should appreciate your effort. But if you're lazy or not very experienced in the art of pastry making, then it's completely fine to use good quality ready-made ingredients. We'll line the baking pan with puff pastry and leave about 1.5 centimeters of edge. Remember to use a fork to poke holes throughout the dough so it can breathe. Then fill the pan with any ground nuts that you want and spread it out evenly. Next, in comes the apple chunks, also spread out evenly. Here, if you want to be extra fancy, you can sprinkle some raisins in between the apple chunks. Then pour your custard in. And finally, sprinkle the cinnamon sugar mixture evenly all over the surface. Now just stick your apple quiche in the oven for 40 minutes. We have some puff pastry left over, so we're going to show you some quick snack recipes in case your stomach starts growling and demands sacrifice while waiting for the apple quiche. Let's take our leftover dough and spread it out like this. Here we have enough dough for 3 pieces. For the first piece of dough, we'll spread some tomato puree on it. We'll fry some bacon and roughly chop it up. Then we'll let it join the tomato puree on the dough. Finally, we'll top it off with some cheese before closing up the dough like so. We use a fork to seal the edge tight and keep everything secured. For the next piece, we'll have some fresh homemade bärlauch pesto, which we'll generously spread onto the dough. We'll also give it some cheese because cheese makes everything taste heavenly. We'll also close this one up nicely, and we'll go a little fancy with the last piece of dough and spread it with some olive paste. We'll give all 3 pieces some egg wash for that nice golden crust later, and let all 3 of them join the apple quiche in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius. The puff pastry only needs about 15 minutes in the oven, and they're ready for you to snack on while waiting for the apple quiche to finish baking. Well, 40 minutes have passed and voila! You have made yourself a beautiful, sweet-smelling and scrummy apple quiche with some savory, yummy snack on the side. This is such a low-effort recipe, but it still guarantees to make your taste bud and your stomach happy and satisfied. And when you finish all the apple quiche and the snacks, but are still hungry for more, then please consider liking our video and subscribing to our channel for more delicious recipes every week. If you also hit the bell, you'll be among the first to enjoy our weekly recipes from all around the world. Now all that's left is and with that, bon appetito, itadakimasu, mời cả nhà ăn cơm and dig in.